Good afternoon, boys and girls from all around the world. Welcome to another episode of National Geographic Kids Safari Live, coming to you all the way from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, South Africa. My name is Steve and I'm joined on camera by Gert, and it is a beautiful, or should I say quite a hot, 36 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. It is very warm. We have got a couple of waterbuck just in front of us here on the side of the road. Please, if you have any questions or comments, please ask your parents to send through an email to us on National Geographic Kids at wildearth.tv. We'd love to hear from you. We are in the rainy season in South Africa, and it is normally very hot in the rainy season. And, well, when it gets hot like this, we're hoping for some rain, just like this big male waterbuck would be hoping for rain because, well, the rain makes the green grass even greener. And he's a big animal. He needs lots of grass to survive. And they like the juiciest, tastiest, and greenest grass around. Oh, there's an elephant coming up ahead there, Gert, above the waterbuck. Look at this. I was hoping to find some elephant. Well, that's what happens out here. There's another one in the road. She's walking straight towards us. Chased there's a whole family of them coming. This is very exciting. I think they've come from a little water hole just down in front of us where we're headed to. They are also very hot, and if we look closely at their bodies, we'll notice that they're a little bit wet. They've been throwing all sorts of mud and water on them to cool down, because when it's very hot, well, there's no other way to cool down than to have a nice little swim. How fantastic is that? Coming up just on our left here as well, Gert, a beautiful little family of elephants. This is so exciting. We weren't expecting to bump into them so quickly, but I was hoping to find you some elephants because, well, when it's green and wet like this out here, they are the easiest of all the animals to find because, well, they are so big, they make so much noise, and they leave all sorts of tracks and signs behind them. Really, really cool. Look at that little baby. We call it a breeding herd of elephants because they are mamas, and they are babies and young bulls. Everybody, yes, what a wonderful opening for all of you out there. If you've never seen an elephant before, well, here they are. And this is coming to you live from South Africa. These are the largest land mammals in the world. And they're only a few meters away from us here in our safari vehicle. And can you see how wet her back is there? She's been picking up water with her trunk and throwing it onto her back to cool down. Splashing and splashing as they go. They make lots and lots of mess. And, well, they generally chase every other animal away from the water because when you're as big as an elephant, you do what you want. You saw how that waterbuck ran away. They weren't going to stay in the way of the elephant. Let me just see if I can move forward a bit for you there, Gert, and we can see this female busy having a little bit of a munch. Just roll very slightly forward. You'll be able to see her a little bit better. How's that? There we go. Ellie lover, you love Ellies? Well, I think I love Ellies. They are my second most favorite animal in the African wilderness, and probably my favorite animal to spend time with because, well, they're always busy. If they're not splashing water on themselves, they're playing. If they're not playing, they're eating. If they're not eating, they're doing all sorts of funny antics. Always very fun to spend time with them. But we are not the only ones out in the African wilderness. We have got elephants down here in South Africa. I'm going to be joined by my good friend Sydney shortly. But all the way up 4 countries north in Kenya, my good friend David is in the Masai Mara.
Hello, hello, boys and girls of Nat Geo, and a very warm welcome to the Mara Triangle. We are thousands of miles from where you are with Steve and that antelope in South Africa. We're in a different country called Kenya. And how are you all doing? And my name is David, And on camera with me today is Archie. Archie, how are you? And Archie's so happy because he hears we just had, you saw a big antelope, then you saw an elephant, and now we got zebras for you. Now, remember, we request you what Steve just told you. I just want to remind you, questions as you go back to our zebras before they disappear. Comments, as usual, send them through Nat Geo kids at worldearth.tv. All right. Now, those are zebras, and in general, they're always black and white, and they're closely related to the horses. I'm sure all of you know horses, so zebras and the horses are more or less in the same family. I think they're going to that bush you see there, and they might be going either to have a drink. And you see how green it is? Ooh, you see? Apart from the zebras, Archie just spotted something else. We got a zebra, a buffalo for you. How cool is that? You boys and girls are very lucky, and that buffalo is very busy feeding, and you can see she is just grazing. And how lucky. Well, I might say he now, because I can see he much better than before, because if you look carefully at his horns, they are very big. Look at the base of the horns. See how wide they are? Boys, or what we call males here, have very wide base of horns. If it was a girl, those horns would be much smaller. When the boys get a bit old, they always stay on their own. And if you look carefully between the horns of that buffalo, there's a small little bird jumping up and down. Do you see that? At where those two horns meet. That bird there is called an oxpecker. And as the name suggests, its main job is to peck or to remove some kind of parasites. You see, it goes to the eyes, where the parasites should be. It goes to the ears. It goes to the neck. And they'll always be eating parasites, either ticks or mites. So as Steve just said, I think, boys and girls, you have a flying start. I'm very happy. So again, don't forget to ask questions or to send any comments through your parents or your guardians. Now, I told you we're in a country called Kenya, and I want to take you back all the way to South Africa for another gentleman who would like to say hello to all of you.
You can see that I've got a beautiful group of the impalas. They're just standing under the shade. The sun is very much hot at the moment here where I am. And my name is Sydney, and welcome to the beginning of your drive. And please, you can ask your parents to ask us the questions on NetGeoKids at wildearth.tv. So here I have got a group of boys. So impalas, the boys tend to form their own group, which is called a bachelor head. So bachelor head, they play together and they feed together. You will see them going to the water hole together as well. So this group now is led by the two adults. I can see there, the young ones are just following these adults together. Normally you will see this bachelor head with quite a lot of adults working together. So you can see that these animals, they've got three different colors. Underneath the stomach, you can see the white color. On the side, light brown, and on top is brown. So these colors helps these animals to adapt. When it's too hot, the colors absorbs the heat, whereas the other bright colors are busy reflecting the heat away. And the very same colors helps them to blend with the surrounding. So the impalas, for them to take a nap, unfortunately they don't do it while standing, they normally lie down. This is one of those animals who's got an ability to go out and feed their grazers. They go out and collect quite a lot of food, and when there's a nice shade, they will sit there and you will see them eating the food that they have ingested during the morning. So this is a ruminant. A ruminant animal will go and collect food, find a nice spot, lie down, and start eating the food again, which is just a process called rumination, which is where the name ruminant is coming from. So those horns, impalas are using them in order to defend themselves. They do fight quite a lot, impalas, especially during the May month. We'll see them chasing each other a lot. They engage on quite a lot of fights. Look at that. They wanted to show us how they can do it. So these impalas, unfortunately, when it comes to predators, they are being predated by the animals such as the leopards. And leopards, they just launch a surprise attack. And chances of these impalas to defend themselves, make use of the horns, they are not very easy when it comes to those kind of predators. Yes, they do defend themselves to make use of these horns, but predators are too clever. They always make sure they come much closer. Predators such as the leopards, they will go closer. Normally they launch an attack at a distance of less than 10 meters. 5 meters, they will jump and catch an animal. Rosalind, the horns are consisted of a bone and a keratin. And this bone and the keratin is very strong. Yes, some of them, they've got broken horns because sometimes the horns, they do lock when they're fighting. Horns are very much strong and they do use them in order to challenge each other, and they engage themselves on very big fights. They are very much strong horns. Unfortunately, sometimes the fight can be very strong in such a way that they lock the horns and be able to break them. So unfortunately, if they lose their horns, it doesn't grow back again. So you can see that now the impalas are disappearing. So we are going to carry on and see if we can find something very, very interesting for you. But for now, let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is also looking for something.
Well, boys and girls, let me see if we can see one bird here before I tell you what I wanted to tell you. On that tree there, 12 o'clock, Archie, there's a bird there. Let's see if these kids will be lucky to see it. As I said, these are very lucky kids. And apart from us showing you big animals, we shall also be showing you, stuff like birds and maybe some reptiles if you are lucky. But that particular bird, it's my favorite bird. And the reason why I say it's my favorite bird, it's a small bird, but it has so many colors, especially when you see it in flight, and it is called the lilac-breasted roller. Now, that sounds interesting because it's such a small bird and such a long name, lilac-breasted roller, because of all the colors she got, lilac comes out, It's well defined. It's much brighter than the other colors. But looking at her carefully, she got white, as you can see on the head. She got a bit of blue. She got a bit of green. She got a bit of black. She got a bit of chestnut, the lilac I'm talking about, see? And of course, different shades of blue, not only one blue. Thank you, Archie. And how wonderful is this? She eats beetles, and what she is doing now, she's just preening her feathers. She just wants to make sure every feather stays where it is supposed to be. You see what she's doing? How clever is that? And if there's any one area that she's a bit itchy, she uses her beak to scratch herself. Yes, and a girl in our friend of control called M saying it's very windy, and you can tell sometimes it blows a lot of wind like this, and then some rainfall will come later. But as it is now, the sky looks very clear. It looks just wonderful and very good, glorious light. So we agreed you're going to be asking us questions. You're going to be sending comments. So I'll be the first one to ask you a question, because I'll tell you, at the moment you look at the light, Kimberly, that's a very good question, and you'd like to know why or how are those colors so bright. These birds have something that we call melanin on their feathers, and that's what shines, and that's why it looks so colorful. Now, Kimberly, we got a different bird here on the ground, and this one here is not as bright as the one on top there. This one is called a lapwing, and specifically it's called One difference between these two birds, the lapwings will normally or in general tend to spend most of the time on the ground, because these ones will always nest on the ground. They lay their eggs on the ground, and they get most of their food on the ground. The other one we were watching before, it will also get its food on the ground, but then it catches, if it's a beetle, and it flies back to the tree just to devour or eat its food. And that's the bird that we watched before. Now, I was saying earlier, we agreed of questions and comments, so I first want to tell you about, and you'd like to know whether the birds are endangered on the ground. No, they are not. What happens is, should something they will eat, walk, or run away, or even fly away. Some of the biggest concerns on these birds are animals or reptiles like snakes, some small little mammals like jackals, and wild dogs could be the concern. Now, I was saying I'll ask you a question, but before I ask you a question, I want to tell you about my temperature here, because I'll ask you what is the temperature back there. Now, okay, well, boys and girls, my signal doesn't look pretty good now. We'll take you first back to Steve in South Africa.
Thanks, David. Well, boys and girls, we lost sight of these elephants for a little while. They went down into the dry riverbed, and we had to come around to the other side to see if we can find them. And here they are, busy eating as they go. Generally, elephants will drink, and then they'll move very slowly and very slowly eat until eventually they get to another place where they'll drink. And then they'll do the same, and they'll eat again and again. That's what they do all day, eat. There's a nice one coming out in front of us here. There's a nice big female there, right in front of us. Quiet, relaxed. Her eyes are nice and closed. Her body language is very, very relaxed. And so it's beautiful to be able to spend time with elephants and to be in amongst them, in amongst the herd. They are gentle giants, but they can be quite dangerous if you don't understand them. This female is just looking at us, having a little investigation, and this little one in front is showing us how big it is. Look how big I am. Sorry about my head there. Did you see how scary it was with its ears out like that? Elephants, when they want to scare something, they put their ears out and they make themselves stand very, very tall. And, well, when you're a big elephant, it can be quite frightening. But when you're a youngster, it's normally quite funny, actually. Normally quite funny. But elephants being such big, gentle giants, it's amazing how quietly they can move. And all you hear really is just the gentle sounds of branches breaking, because elephants are herbivores. They feed on grasses, leaves, twigs, roots, fruits. I'm going to have to try and reposition now because most of them are behind us. So we're just going to be very quiet, try and turn the car around. And we're very privileged to be able to get in amongst the herd. It's because we show them a lot of respect. We don't push any buttons. If you ever do come out on safari, elephants are the one that everybody wants to see. Oh, Kimberly, young elephants are so funny, as you say. I love spending time with them. Many times the youngsters will come and sort of run at your vehicle with their ears out and trumpet, and then Mum will come and say, "Come back here, little boy, staying with the people, leave them alone." Here we go, here's another young sub-adult over here, just on our left-hand side. It's going to move up a little bit to show him to you. Just on the left. How quietly they move. So we're basically on the side of a dry river. The vegetation and the trees here are normally quite green because the soil is very deep with water deep down underneath. So this is an area that you often find elephants in, because they like to eat lots of food and they want the juiciest and tastiest food, just like that waterbuck. But the waterbuck feeds on grass. Well, as we lose sight of these elephants, can you believe how they disappear into the thickets? We're going to come down and go into the river itself and see if we can catch up with the rest of the herd, because they're moving sort of parallel with the river here. Are you excited? You're going to jump on board? Let's go ahead here. Oh, I'm glad everybody's enjoying being with these elephants as much as we are. Oh. Here we go. That little youngster didn't really like us very much. Did you see? He showed big ears and now he's running to go catch up with Mum. Well, elephants is only one of the big animals we find out on safari. Up in the Masai Mara, David is with another very big animal, but this one has got horns.
Very good, boys and girls, having seen elephants, and now I'm going to show you buffaloes again. Initially we saw one, but I think now we have more than one. I'm trying to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We have about 7 buffaloes. I guess that's right. Now, I'm sure you all know sometimes we talk of the big 5 animals of Africa, and luckily by now you have seen the big 2, because you have seen the elephants and you have seen the buffaloes. So the other 3 of the big 5 are leopards, rhinos, and lions. Now, I had a question for you, because we all agreed you'll be sending us a few questions and some comments, and I wanted to tell you something first about the weather. At the moment, we have what we call the short rains, and that's why it looks so green. You'll see how beautiful it is where all those boys are eating. And I'm saying boys again. You remember I was saying the males or the boys have big horns. And because we have the short rains now, everything looks very green. And the temperatures feel so good. We are about 24 degrees Celsius and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So boys and girls, I want you all at one point, tell me wherever you are at your home, what temperatures it is. You can ask your mom or your dad or your guardian, and let David know what temperatures it is, depending on what state or where of the area you live in. Now, you see that's the Masai Mara. And we're looking at the landscape that is totally different from where Sydney and Steve is. This area where we are is always more open with scattered trees. And when we say Masai Mara is a local word that means spots. Mara, because you can see one tree here, another tree there, or one bush here, another bush somewhere else. So from the air, those look like spots. And that's why we call this area the Masai Mara. Maasai is a local tribe that are very famous because they have always lived with these animals here. See how beautiful it is? But of course we have tree lines here and there, and the tree line you see in the background there, there's a river there that's called the Mara River. When we have animals that we call wildebeest, I'm sure you have heard of wildebeest, and like the zebras I was showing you before, they do something that we call migration. And migration is when they walk from one area to another and they cover thousands of miles. When they come to this part of Kenya where we are, they'll always cross that river that you see behind those trees. And that kind of experience, we call it the migration. And it's always a very big highlight, or it's very famous when you see them in their thousands. Either me or Sydney or Steve, if you're lucky today, we might show you how those wildebeests look like. But I would say most of them now have gone to a different country called Tanzania, in a national park called Serengeti. Wow. All right. We saw 2 birds before. We saw a lilac-breasted roller on a tree. Then we saw a watered lapwing on the ground. But now we got even a bigger bird than those 2. And this is a very special bird because it is an eagle. And I'm saying it's special because it feeds on snakes. And its name is called the black-chested snake eagle. Black-chested snake eagle. And maybe what she's doing there, she's turning her head, if you look carefully, to spot for snakes. And if she sees one, she's going to fly right down and catch one. And in the background there, you can see some small little buildings. And that's Why can you say they're so cool? And yes, they look very cool. And what they do, they stay at a very high point there to be able to spot their prey. And I was talking about those small buildings behind there, and those are buildings of game rangers. And game rangers are the people who will always patrol this area to make sure that the animals are safe and everybody is safe and there's no vehicle that is broken down and there's no animal that is sick. That's the main job, and that is where they stay. See how lovely and great light we got and how the green looks, and you notice you've got different shades of green everywhere you go. And what happens when it rains, the kind of soil we have in Kenya, or the Mara Triangle, is called the black cotton soil. And if it rains so heavily and a guide or the person who is showing the tourists or the guests the animals is not careful, would easily get stuck. And black cotton soil is very sticky. So when the driver tries to spin the tires to come out, he keeps digging down or she keeps digging down and gets stuck. So we are always very careful, and we remain on the big road, and we avoid going in areas that could be muddy or sticky. You can imagine if you get stuck near buffaloes or near animals like this, which are very big. Buffaloes, boys and girls, are very dangerous animals. As much as they look peaceful, they are feeding, but what we try and do, you do not get so close to them. And if you do, you go when you're in a car, but not when, you're walking. Once in a while, you notice they keep flicking their tails. Should they have any insects or any flies on their body, they get it out. So buffaloes, you might relate them to the cows. They're not in the same family, but they may look just like the cows. There are certain parts of the world, like in Asia, where people have been able to domesticate buffaloes, and sometimes they even milk the buffaloes. In Africa, we have not been able to do that as yet. That's another big boy. You remember I was telling you, the males have very huge horns. As you can see, the base or where those two horns meet is huge. And another boy. And my guess is all these 7 here, they are all boys. That one has a bit of mud on his horns. Sometimes they do what you call mud packing, or they just wallow in the mud when they're trying to cool off, or if they want to get mud on their bodies to suffocate any insects that they could be having. See, that one is a bit old. You see the wrinkled skin? Very, very good. Well, boys and girls, I think we have done very well with these buffaloes, and I want to go and look maybe for something else interesting. Hopefully I'll be lucky, but in the meantime, I'm sure Sydney is driving and he wants to tell you something.
I am just trying to investigate a warning call here which was given by some of the birds. I don't know what this bird has just seen, but I could hear that they were not happy about something. Maybe there is a predator in the area. If not a predator, a big predator, maybe it's a small predator which can be able to chase the birds. So I just want to check here if it's not a leopard. If not a leopard, maybe it's a small predator. Sometimes the birds, they do give a warning call just because of the presence of the owls. Because owls, they also attack these small birds. So all the noises were coming from this area, but I'm not seeing anything. So it means it was something small. So I'm not seeing the tracks. I was trying by all means to see if we can find some tracks. So now let's cross over back to Steve with the elephants.
Yes, well, thank you. Welcome back, boys and girls. We've driven up the river a little bit, and we've come to park just next to a little bit of a muddy pool, because, well, I know elephants love muddy pools. They love water, and on a day like this, they get very thirsty, and as I said before, they get very hot. So what they're probably going to do is they're going to all come up to this muddy water here. They're probably not going to drink it because elephants are very picky about what they drink, but they know the area very well. They're going to come and splash and might even bath themselves a bit. It's always a very nice social experience. So let's see what happens. Yes, it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Yay. Now, see what she's doing with her trunk there? She's going to taste it, and she's going to go, ooh, I don't know if that's very nice. They're very picky about their water, but we had some rain yesterday, so the water might not be too bad. But they might follow this river system further north to where there's much cleaner water. And look at that little baby. That baby's only a few months old. Look how small it is. Oh, it's so cute. Not able to drink water yet. It's completely dependent on mum for milk and for drinking. And well, you can see the baby's following mum. The rest of the herd, just out of picture, is kind of checking out the water, but they don't think it's very nice. They're going to splash themselves just on the right here. You can see that these other elephants are picking up the water, having a little bit of a drink, and they're just going to splash themselves with it as well, cool themselves down. It's not the tastiest of water. There's lots of mud. But, well, there's another watering hole not far away. It's a little bit bigger, and we're going to go there as soon as they move away from us here. We're going to start up and go there and see if maybe they come and have a proper drink over there. It's really special to be able to be this close to these giant animals as they do their thing. Hey, everybody, you agree? I agree with you. They are very cute. Beautiful family. You can see that's probably mum on the right with one of her youngsters. And young females will spend, or female elephants will spend their entire life in the herd. And this is probably one family unit. It might even be two family units that have come together. In sort of the dry season, they split up because food... Ooh, did you hear that? Food is not that available. But now that the food is much more available, there's lots more water and food around. The herds come together, almost like we do at Christmas, when your aunties and uncles bring your nephews and nieces. Oh, there we go. There's a nice mud wallow. Look at them do that now. Now they're using their nose to suck up the mud and then throwing it all over their body because the mud's nice and cool. It covers them like a sunscreen. And, well, it's just fun. Just fun and games to play in the mud. Fantastic. There's at least 20-odd elephants here, which is sort of an average size for two small herds, or maybe even three coming together. Big females maybe have gone off with their family and they've come together for Christmas. Magic Dragon Wizard, they are very alert to each other's movements, very alert. They know where every individual is in the herd, and the baby, even in times of stress, when there's a stampede, manages to slot right in there underneath mum's legs, completely safe. She will guide it with her trunk, put it exactly where it needs to be, and then lead it along its way. Well, we're going to move because they're all going behind us now. How amazing is that? Well, doesn't matter how many times I see it, it always gets me very excited and very, very warm in my heart. Now, there's a nice game path. They're just eating a little bit, but they're walking directly to the other pan, which is up ahead, which is much bigger than that one. And I'm sure they're probably all going to line up next to each other and have a proper little drink, because the pan that they came from before this one is pretty much just a big mud bowl. And, well, I don't know about you, if you've ever tried to drink mud, it's very difficult to swallow. Elephants don't really drink mud. They like to use it for covering themselves, keeping themselves cool. Hello, James. You want to know if it's the end of the dry season? And it most certainly is. Let me just get ahead of them here. They're just going to go around this game path. Sorry, elephants, I'm not trying to get in your way. Just going to get ahead. James, our summer months, which is our wet season, generally start in October, November, and then December, January, February is when we get most of our rain. So we are definitely in the wet season, but the rains are very slow, very small, and well, we are hoping for lots more. Okay, here is the other pan. It is in the heart of Djuma Game Reserve. This is the life and blood of Djuma in the middle of the dry season. And well, I'm just going to park on the other side of this watering hole, and I hope you're ready, because this is going to be spectacular. I'm going to park nicely for us in the shade, because, you know, we also like to cover ourselves when it's nice and hot. Are you right there, Gert? Here we go. Here they come, one by one, to the small pan. And well, if they don't like it, there we go. You see, she's getting excited. She's walking a lot quicker. Have a look how quickly she's moving. Elephants get excited. They bob their head like that. Oh, she's going to go straight in the middle. Look at the baby. The baby thinks this is time to play. Look how Mum is pushing her to the side there. She's going, be careful. Elephants are very clever. They know that a muddy wallow like this can be dangerous for a young elephant. A young elephant could easily get trapped in there and drown. And so you saw that, how Mum just guided her off to the side. She knows exactly where she is. Maybe any of your parents, when they're out there, you were out in the shopping centre and you wanted to take a run for the sweet store, they just grab you on the shoulder and then you don't go anywhere. Hello, Niconico viewer. You want to know the weight of a baby elephant? Well, they come in at about 200 pounds at birth. So roughly about 100 kilograms at the age at birth, which is an incredible size for a mammal. But they have to stay very, very close to Mum for the first 3-4 years of their life, because they are very vulnerable. You saw how small that young one was. They're not able to look after themselves. And well, if they're on their own, they are prone to being caught by big predators like lions. And well, these two youngsters are absolutely loving it. But you can see how muddy the water is there. This is not for drinking. They know this is not tasty enough. So what they're going to do is splash themselves with mud, and they're going to go up further upstream to where I know is a very nice drinking water. And well, if I know it, so do they, because elephants are very, very clever. And they spend their whole lives together in the herd, and the babies are constantly learning from the adults. And the adults have a very good memory, and they remember where all the best grazing grounds and fruiting grounds are, and where the best water is. And they teach them, just like our parents do. Our parents tell us exactly where the safest places are to go and play, what the best schools are to go to, who our friends should be sometimes, because sometimes they know better than we do. So special to be this up close and personal with a large group of elephants. And see, I'm going to stop talking for a minute. See if you can hear these individuals walking past. Those were a couple of young bulls. Did you see how they were giving us the evil eye? Just like young boys do. What are you doing there? You looking at my family? They stood all up tall, big ears. Well, we're going to keep following them, because I'm pretty sure they're going to go to the other pan that's up there where the water is sweet, crystal clear. Are you ready? Are you excited? I'm very excited. And slowly as they go, you see how they keep wetting themselves as they go along because of the warm sun. Because in the sunshine, most animals are generally pretty lazy. Elephants are generally quite busy because they splash and drink, throw mud on themselves. David up in the Mara has found another one of the big five, but this one is sleeping.
Yes, it's very true. When it gets warm, the animals tend to slow down. And boys and girls, I told you this could be your lucky day, because I have been able to find a cat for you. And this one is a lioness. So female lions are called lionesses. And she's a girl. And you can see how she is breathing, what sometimes you could say panting. because it's just a bit warm. But I think if I look at her carefully, she is either pregnant or she has eaten so much meat. And you can see how big her belly is. Now, notice how she blends in very well with the rock behind and the grass, and that's exactly what lions will do. They'll always choose a place where they can hide comfortably, so that if other animals, for example, prey animals, come for a drink, they can easily catch them. From a distance, we couldn't even see or notice it's the lioness until she put her head up. And we're like, why? 1 minute. That looks like a cat lying there. Then we came close. We saw it is a lioness. She saw us and she went right back to bed. In general, lions sleep a lot. And it's not only the boys, even the girls will sleep a lot. Of all the cats I know, it's the lions that sleep the most, more than leopards and more than cheetahs. You can see the whiskers she got below her nose. Sometimes we say all the lionesses or all the lions have different whiskers on their nose. Look at the eyelashes that she got. And you see how her ears are covered with fur. Now, if you would see a boy, the boy would be looking different, because the boys have what we call a mane and the oops, hello there. Now, lions in general may sleep anything from 15 to 20 hours. That is the lionesses. Hello, see how beautiful she is. The boys might sleep sometimes from 18 to 22 hours in a day. Can you imagine? So boys and girls, I'll tell you, boys tend to sleep more than the girls. And again, as I said, if they have all what they require, even the girls may sleep as long. But in general, it's the boys that sleep more than the girls. Lions go in groups, and because we live in this bush, we know our lions very well. I can even tell you what group she comes from, and even the name that we have given this group. A group of lions, instead of saying a group, we like saying a pride. So this particular lioness belongs to a pride that we call Olololo. Olololo is the name of a little escarpment or little mountain that we're going to show you in a few minutes. And because they always hang around this area, we have named them together, or we have named them to identify them with that particular escarpment, because they are always here. Now, this one is a female, and she belongs to that big pride. We say now you're going to say pride instead of groups, and when they are all together, they are always 16. In the Mara, we have so many prides of lions, but this one here is the largest. What I will do after I leave this one, I am going to find out where the other 15 are. But let's first show you that escarpment that we're talking about that made us give this particular pride of lions Olololo. You see that escarpment there? That escarpment is called Olololo. And I hope all of you can see Olololo. In general, what happens, not only lionesses that will hunt, not only the girls that will hunt, even the boys will hunt. But in general, it's the girls who do more hunting than the boys. But I'm talking when they hunt small game, not small per se. I'm talking, for example, a zebra or a wildebeest or some kind of antelope, like what Steve had, like a kudu, or a waterbuck. But if they need, she just turn around. I think she need to change, just like you boys and girls. I'm sure you know when you sleep, you always toss in your bed. Now, if they'll need to hunt something big, for example, a buffalo, you'll get the males that I was talking about will come and give them a hand, because buffaloes are big, they are strong, like the buffaloes I was showing you, and they got very big horns, and sometimes they can hurt the lionesses or the females or the girls, and the males do not want that to happen. Now she has turned up, she got her legs up, enjoying the sleep, but at the same time she's getting a bit of warmth before the sun disappears. How cool is that, boys and girls? And you can see her breathing slowly, slowly. If it was rather hot and she has eaten a lot, she would be maybe even panting. Paula, how are you today? And why is her tummy so big? Paula, I got two theories. Number one, I think she is pregnant, and I would still want to believe so. But also, most likely, she would have had a very big meal, maybe this morning. Not very far from where we are, we saw one lioness that was feeding on a toppy. So Paula, two theories: either she's pregnant, or she has had a big meal, or possibly even both. I'm more convinced to think she is pregnant. Paula, I'm sure you know we had all the thousands of wildebeest here the other day, and those wildebeest are all gone, and these lions or lionesses have been having a bumper harvest, feeding and feeding. And naturally, as the wildebeest leave and they are all in good shape, chances are they would start mating, and most likely all of them have conceived. And counting about 3 months, 100 and so 105 days, we shall be expecting to see cubs. For your flyer, how do we say pride of lions in Swahili? Number one, I want to tell you, lions in Swahili, we say Simba. The other bit could be difficult because it's kundi. So kundi means group. So we say kundi la Simba, a group of lions, or a pride of lions. And I'm sure you can say that. Can you say that after me? Kundi la Simba. That means a pride of lions. How does that sound? Easy? Very good. It's always easy to say pride of lions or group of lions. But remember, when you say pride specifically, we are talking of females with their young ones. And when you have males, we don't say pride of lions again. When you have males, we always say a coalition, because males will always tend to be together. So we see these lions when they are always together, but males will always be on their own. They'll always come together when they need to, or maybe when they have a male. Well, I think I need to go look for the others, because maybe I might be lucky to see the males. And you'll see the difference I was talking about. Males having a lot of fur or hair on the neck and on the head that we call a mane. Okay, very good. So the lioness, keep enjoying your nap. We won't disturb you very much, but you've been very kind to us to allow you, or to allow us to be with you all that time. We'll see you later. And I'm sure boys and girls will be very excited to hear whether Sydney is winning or he is still where he was. You remember earlier I was talking about the big five. So we can comfortably say on this weekend, beautiful Saturday, we have gotten 3 of the big 5 and we got 2 to go. Sydney is always a very good friend of mine and I like giving him a lot of pressure. Sydney, is that true or not?
So you can see I have got some droppings on the side there, and there is also some markings right at the back. For you to see this nicely, I think I must have to get there so that I can nicely show you what's happening. If you can check here, I have got this very big dropping. This is coming from the rhino. And we've got 2 types of rhinos occurring here in South Africa. The other one is called a black rhino, another one is called a white rhino. Even if you don't see the animal, from the droppings, you can tell which one was here. So this is what you must consider. If you look here, these droppings, if I open them, you will see that there is just quite a lot of grasses. A white rhino eats grass. Black rhino eats leaves. It means inside the droppings of the black rhino, you will see the leaves, the twigs, which is not finally digested. But here, by the white rhino, all you are going to see is just grass. These droppings, they are not here just for the decoration. And these markings, they are also not here for decoration. These animals, this is what they do. The male, he comes here to this spot most of the time, and he's going to defecate and do this. He's going to defecate and kick his droppings like this, make use of his back legs in order to demarcate the area. In other words, this is a demarcation point. We are entering someone's territory. So we are entering someone's territory now. We might be lucky and see some of the interesting animals inside, but the territory here, this is belonging to a rhino. Unfortunately, the rhinos do share their territories with some other animals. Yeah, that is what they do. These rhinos, they are just spreading the scent so that other animals can pick up that scent when entering, that this is their place. So this area is getting very much thick. I must have to look very carefully for me to see or to find any of the predators. Paula, indeed, we need very big dung beetles in order to deal with this rhino dropping. So the dung beetles, they are very much strong insects. They can push something which is over 1,000 times bigger than their body weight. You can see they are powerful insects. So when considering the number of times the size they can push, you can see that it's not just a strong insect, it's the strongest animal in the animal kingdom. So I don't think the elephant with that very huge body can be able to pull something which is even 100 times bigger than their body weight. They can't. But dung beetle can do over 1,000. Multiply by the body weight, they can push that. So now let's quickly cross over to Steve, who is having the elephants.
Thanks, Sydney. Well, everybody, Sydney loves his dung beetles. He really does. He'll talk about them all day. And dung beetles love elephant dung. Well, we are still trying to follow our elephants. They went into the thickets there of the dry river bed, and we moved up to loop around again because there's another muddy wallow over here that I thought maybe they'd come to maybe do some more mud wallowing before going on to the next pan where there's very clean, fresh water. But we've been waiting for a few minutes and we haven't seen them. But like I said before, a herd of elephants can easily get lost in the thickets, and they are so quiet and slow moving that only until the last second they're invisible, and then they just materialize out of the thickets, and well, then we spot them. So we're hoping, I think we've been waiting a little bit long, they might have gone around me, I'm not sure, but they're so quiet that you wouldn't even know. The river itself is just on the left here, the dry river. I didn't see them walk up there. I thought they would come here. I might have overguessed it. Maybe they've gone past us already. So we're going to turn around and go and check, see if they've come out on the other side, because I would love to show you another view of the elephants. It's so special to be able to spend this amount of time with them. So some of you are wondering how elephant feet work. Well, very interesting actually how their feet work. Let me just reverse a little bit here so that I don't put Gert into the thorn bushes. There are lots of thorn trees around here. Elephants actually have got a very interesting foot structure, and I might have to demonstrate it quickly with my hand. They basically walk on their toes like this. They've got 5 toes in the front, like my hand, and then the foot goes up like that, and then underneath the foot they've got this very spongy high heel, like a high heel shoe that pushes their foot up, but it's not actually a high heel shoe. It pushes it up, almost elastic, so it's like a bit of bounce. So as the elephant pushes its foot down, this elastic pushes the foot back up again, like a sponge. They put it down, the foot gets wider, and it pushes back up again. So when they land, put their foot down, it spreads out the weight, and it takes away a lot of the noise. And as it lifts up, the foot contracts again. It's another reason why they don't get stuck in the mud, because they put their foot in, it spreads, and they close it, and out it comes again. So it's a very, very interesting design of the foot. And that sponge is also to take away a lot of the weight. It's a shock absorber. The animals can weigh enormous amounts of kilograms, and to be on your feet all day, you need to have very special shoes. And while the elephant doesn't have shoes, they've got modified feet which allow them to do that. If you ask any of your parents or friends that work very long hours on their feet, well, they always say, my feet are killing me. They've got to have very special shoes to have, they are ballerinas essentially. They've got to have very special shoes to be on your feet all day. And when you're an elephant, you pretty much are on your feet all the time. So very specialized feet. Also, what's nice is that when they put their foot down, that sponge actually helps to push them forward. So it's almost like a springboard. If you've ever done gymnastics and you run and you jump on that board and it pushes you forward, elephants have got one of those in each of their feet. I think that's super cool. Anyway, I think they've eluded us. It's amazing, and it blows my mind every time how a herd of elephants, you saw how big they were, how many there were, and just vanished. That is the wild. That is the way of the wilderness. we're going to go up to the pan I've been talking about and see if they've maybe snuck around us somehow. But it's possible they might have got thick into the river there and they're just having a nice munch of some very nice green leaves. That is also possible. But anyway, we're going to go and have a look anyway and see if maybe they're in the pan up ahead. And if not, I think Gert and I might jump in there because it's very, very hot out here. Not as hot in the Mara, where the temperatures are normally quite mild. Hopefully cool enough for the lions to get moving. Let's go and have a look what David's got.
Well, boys and girls, it's much cooler here, and I think because it's much cooler, our luck has continued looking good and better, and I think now it's at its best, because earlier I was talking of male lions or boy lions, and look what we just got. And maybe not one, but maybe two, who I'm guessing they are brothers. Now look carefully and look on the neck and the head. I was talking of males being very different from the girls because they have a lot of hair, what we call fur, on the neck and on the head. This one is called men, and these are two boys, and they are members of the Olololo pride, but definitely, as I said, being boys, these ones will be forming what we call a coalition. Aren't you lucky, boys and girls? And this is the big difference between the males and the females. Apart from the amount of hair they got or fur on their necks and head, they tend to be a little bit bigger in size than the girls, or a little bit also heavier than the girls. Some of these boys could weigh up to 500 pounds, and the girls be anything 400 or so pounds in weight. Huge difference. Again, we are talking of how lions sleep. And now these boys, you can see how sleepy they are, just like the girl we saw before. And Vicky, you'd like to know whether we hear them roar a lot. And yes, we do. And they tend to do that either very early in the morning or in the evening or even at night. So sometimes when I am in my tent in the camp, I'll always hear something like can you imagine? And I'll always know that is a lion. And Vicky, also to let you know, the lions or the boys, they tend to roar more than the females. And they have a bigger or much louder voice than the girls. As I told you, this will sleep more than the girls, sometimes even 20 or 22 hours of snooze. And I guess they are dreaming. The only thing I might ask you to tell me, what do you think they could be dreaming about? Thinking about or dreaming about dinner? Dreaming about finding out where the rest of the members are? Dreaming of going to hunt? Because in general, lions do not have as many enemies. Sorry, I missed the question from Irene, and I'm sure she was asking something about the mane. I'll be happy to get it again. Hello, lion. Remember we called them Simba? Good question, Irene, and you're asking whether they have a problem with bugs in their mane. Well, it's very possible. Look at that mane. See how thick it is. So possibly some of the bugs would expect to be there would be something either like flea, or maybe lice, or maybe ticks, or maybe I would say mites. So yes, they would have a problem there because it's a very good hiding ground for all these bugs that you would think of. And definitely having such long mane is not an advantage to them. The only thing is, we have noticed some of the girls will always prefer to be friends with the lions that have very big mane or even darker. You see how dark that is compared to the first one we saw? I think you boys and girls, someone should be looking for a comb and just comb this hair. See how big it is. And it's quite rough, I would say. So when you feel it, and we normally touch them, when they have died, because, at one point when they get very old, they die. When you feel that particular hair is always pretty hard. Well, boys and girls of Nat Geo, thank you very much for having joined us. I want to give you one more look of those two lovely boys that I called you, the Could Lions that have formed a coalition. There should be three of them. One other member is not here. And I want to thank you very much for having joined us today. Remember, we shall be back coming next Saturday. Myself and other guests in South Africa, thank you for having joined us and hope to see you again very soon. And from all of us, goodbye. Hello, Jambo, everybody, and welcome to our drive from the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Nothing has changed. My name will remain the same, David, and with me this afternoon is Archie, and Archie want to show you some two male lions that are not very far from where. Well, as usual, we have always requested you one thing. If you can, we love hearing questions from you. We love, as you go back to the lions, we love getting comments from you, and I'm sure you know on Twitter, #SafariLive. Well, when we started, it was a little bit warm. It was about 24 degrees and about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, but I can tell you for a fact the temperatures might have gone a little bit down. We had some wonderful, glorious light. We just finished some 1 hour show with kids, and they had a wonderful time. And we were able to show them buffaloes, elephants, antelopes, lots of birds, female lioness, and these two male lions here. Remember, we're in the Mara Triangle, and we come to you live. And as I said earlier, your questions always gives us a lot of joy because we like interacting and talking to you. And these two males belong to a group of lions, or pride of lions, or a coalition of lions that we call the Olololo. And here in the Mara Triangle, it's such a huge area, and not very far from here, we had seen one female that belongs to the Olololo pride. While the males will not always be attached to the females, they'll always be together with them for mainly two reasons. If they have a kill, definitely they'll join them for a meal, or when they will be mating. Now, we call these Kichwa males, and there are always three of them. One of them is missing, and if I'm able to see either when they open their mouth, there's one that we call fang, and if I'm able to see their tails, there's one that we call half tail. Well, the third one, I'm not sure why he doesn't have a name, but yes, we're trying to see if we can see anything in the mouth. But they're very sleepy, very, very sleepy, which is typical of lions, nothing out of the ordinary. Sometimes 18, 22 hours of sleep. That is the other one, and they'll sleep. And because it's cooling off, I got a feeling they might decide to rise and shine, and maybe you're going to see their faces, and I'll be able to identify who they are with all the flies they got behind their mane. But remember, I'm not the only one out here on the drive. There's another gentleman who I always believe he has such a wonderful smile in South Africa.
So you can see here that the grasses are covering very nicely, and there's even a bird hiding in the middle of the grass. That is one of the doves. That is a Cape turtle dove, trying to get something for this afternoon. A very, very good afternoon, and welcome to the beginning of the normal game drive. This is Sydney Pumulan Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Marcel, who is my camera operator. We are going to try and find you something very, very interesting this afternoon. And please don't forget that this is an interactive safari. You can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. So that, oh, there you see that dove is right there. You can see the easiest way to recognize the Cape turtle dove is to check the side of the neck. It does have a dark ring there. So the doves, they are very much monogamous. So you must check when they are married for life. They're just partners for life. And it's very interesting to see these birds when they are proposing each other. The males normally must have to go and even bring some of the food in order to convince the females, until the female, she is satisfied that, okay, this is the right man I can stay with. And building of the nest is also another way of trying to convince the female. So the doves are part of those birds which can be able to produce milk. So this bird doesn't have a mammary gland, but they can be able to produce milk. How they produce milk is interesting. They produce milk from the crop. A crop is like a pocket which is on the side here by the neck, where when they want to secrete milk, they just have to break down the epithelial cells, the walls of the crop, and produce milk and give that milk to their little ones. And before they produce milk, they suspend feeding. They don't want to feed, as they know that the hard materials are going to contaminate the milk and the little ones won't be able to digest. Bad milk. So the bad milk in terms of fat content is even... So the bad milk, the milk content is even higher than cow milk. So now let's quickly go to Pat, who is also out on a game drive.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. My name is Patrick. Joining me on camera, we have Krat. Sorry, I still can't. Kart. I'm getting there. If you have any questions or comments, please do send them in using that hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or the YouTube chat stream. So I'm currently making my way through a little bit of a riverbed, a dry riverbed, looking for some elephants. So we were following them around from waterhole to waterhole, but they've just managed to give us the slip for the time being. I'm sure though, being such a hot day, we should be able to relocate them. It is a very hot 36 degrees today, 36 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think all of the animals are definitely feeling it. I know that we're definitely feeling it. But the ellies are one of the few animals that will be more active. Everyone's asking if we're going to go for a swim in the pan. Well, it's actually quite tempting. It's been very hot. Thankfully, we have a swimming pool at Inga's, one of our housing lots here. So we can go cool off there later. We might leave the pan for the hippos and the ellies and all the other animals that will probably want to hurt us if we go near their water. Although Chitwa, sometimes when I'm down at Chitwa on a hot day, it is very, very tempting to get into the board shorts and go for a paddle. Got some Nyala as we come through here. Yes, everybody, very warm here today. But the good news is we do have rain recently. I think 2 days ago we had quite a decent amount of rain. It's still not raining solidly yet, but it is starting to get there. Obviously we can see this place is quite a lot greener, which makes our jobs of finding animals that little bit trickier. But it's definitely worth it for the end of a drought. Well, I'm going to press on, hopefully track down these elephants. I'm going to throw you up north to Kenya. Let's see what David Gadu has got you up in the Masai Mara.
Well, the wind has picked up a little bit, and you can see from the grass moving there. And just by the virtue of the wind picking up a little bit, you can see also the lion put his head up. And he's just looking, wondering what could be happening. And not that it's worried by the wind, but definitely there's a lot of movement in the air and of course in the grass. So everybody will always want to be sure what's happening on his surrounding. And what I've been doing is to wait and see if he's going to open his mouth, and if I find he is missing a tooth or two, I'll know this is fang. Or if that doesn't happen, maybe I'll be looking on the tail and know whether it's the half tail. At the moment, he's just enjoying the view, just like me. And I think the brother or the coalition member is just having a nap. Not sure he's even bothered of what is happening out there. He seems to have a smaller mane than this one, because looking at this, he got a bigger mane and maybe much darker. Not sure if they're of the same litter or different. It could be difficult to know, but they form what we call the Quichua males, which are always three. And looking at his ear, you can see all the tear. Avia, you say a classic view of a lion, and I would say yes, I agree with you. This could be a photograph to frame, and this is quite a good portrait. And to see the green grass there just around it, and look at the ears there, Aviel. Look at the mane there. The only thing I think he needs is a small little comb or a brush, just to make him look even more handsome as he is. But from the look of things, to me, he looks pretty good. And that mane looks a little bit not in shape because of the rains that have been going on. And definitely when he lies down on the mane or on one side, he picks a bit of mud, and that's why it looks stuffed together like that. Jeremiah, pretty good question. Sometimes it's rather difficult to know who could be the dominant male. This coalition here, ooh, what a big yawn there, Jeremiah. Are you fine? I think all your teeth are complete there, so I didn't see any missing tooth. So Jeremiah, it could be difficult to know, but what we like sometimes seeing, if we get them on a kill, for example, say the three of them eating, and one of them tends to dominate the two, we might say that's the dominant one. If it's a mating time and maybe one of them will be dominating and not the other, that's the only way you can tell who is the dominant, because they tend to be on the same age. As he goes boom, and time for more sleep, Jeremiah. So it's always difficult. But at times, Jeremiah, you can tell straight who could be the dominant one. If, say, you get three together and one being older than the other two, so the bigger one in general will be the dominant one, and he will not allow the youngsters to eat before him, and he'll also not even allow them to mate with the females around. Well, these males seems to be enjoying a bit of sleep. Not sure they would want to wake up and give us a bit another entertaining moment, but he did pretty well. But as it is typical of lions, it's time to have more nap. I would imagine myself in his shoes with such small light breeze of wind. I'd also be napping comfortably. The only other thing is, Linda, I agree with you in terms of snoozing, and you can see how he has dug his head right in, well, not in the mud, but that green grass tells me, Linda, there could be a bit of mud there. Linda, I want to show you the kind of weather we are having now, because Archie going to pan to the right, and the storm that's building, and sorry about my head, it's just on the way there, and not worried of the storm coming to us, because the clouds you see there are not the ones that bring rain to where we are. So that's the Olorola escarpment in the background there, and the beautiful Mara Savannah. But you can see how dark those clouds are building, and way in the horizon you can see some huge walls of rain, but that's a very different area and maybe quite far from where we are. All those scattered trees there are the iconic torchwood trees of the Mara and Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. Serengeti and the Mara are one and the same ecosystem. What we see here is also what you see in Serengeti National Park, and that's a game reserve, or national park rather, in a country called Tanzania, south of Kenya, where all the wildebeest and most of the zebras have gone, and we don't see them again until sometimes next year, June, July. Well, I may be giving you one more look at these beautiful boys here before I leave them, and maybe go look for something else. And I just love them being the green. Hello, lions, and I want to believe, should a big lion like this get a small snack like what Sidon have, a scrub here, that will be a very small snack for him.
So look, I've got a rare sighting. This is one of the special sightings. During the day like this, I have got the scrub hare. Look at that eye. These scrub hares has got very big eyes. So you can see that the eyes have got a very good vision, and the ears helps them a lot. Look at those translucent ears moving all the time. So these kind of animals are so very much clever, and every time they sit on their tails because they see that the tail has got a bright fluffy hairs underneath. If they don't hide the tail, they can easily get spotted. When running away, you will see that tail, the white fluffy hairs up, just to confuse the animal coming. When they lower the tail, the animal is not going to spot them again. So now, these animals, they've got a very interesting behavior when it comes to the choosing of partners. The choosing of partners normally is taking place where you will find a female inviting like all the males to come and fight. And they will be boxing each other, make use of the front leg. Sometimes some will be kicking. They will be showing off very dangerous kicking display. Sometimes even the bride, the female, got injured, kicked by some of these males trying to convince her for mating purposes. So you can see that. So you can see that this scrub hare doesn't want to move at all. So when we're talking about the anti-predatory strategies, this is a good example. It only works properly when the animal is motionless. Once the animal stands and moves, it breaks the shape. So that's why this scrub hare knows that now is camouflaged. But if it moves now or stands, it's just going to lose the camouflage. Look at that body. Let's look at the body of the scrub hare versus the dry branches there and the dry grasses. It looks similar. The boxing bunnies, I think that is a very good and relevant name. So they box each other big time. So that's how the males has to display their ability to fight and protect the bride. So she doesn't feel comfortable with the losers. Those who are not strong enough. Yeah, during the day like this, look so very much still. But they are so fast. If you disturb this scrub hare now, you're not going to believe. It's going to jump and go in zigzag very quickly. So animals who are taking down the scrub hares, you must know it means they're skillful. It's not an easy animal to take down. Sometimes when threatened, they just sit. They sit when they're surrounded by the predators. In the middle, they can just sit and get camouflaged and find a space and run away again. So we are just going to leave the scrub hare still camouflaged here and see if we can find you something interesting. So I am now around the Chitwa area. Here is where I'm going to look for something this afternoon. That is not the only scrub hare active here in Chitwa. I saw another one again somewhere this side. So now let's cross over to Pet and see what is having.
Well, no luck so far with the elephants, but we are changing up our tactics and heading over to Buffels Hook Dam to see what will be at that water source. There might be some elephants there or anything. On a hot day like today, you never know. But we just stopped quickly because we have some green pigeons up in the tree here, in this dead tree. So we can see them sitting very still up here. Pigeons, of course, being very close to the doves. We get a few species of both of them here. We've got the green pigeon, and all of the ringneck doves, And of course, turtle doves as well. Aiden, age 7. No, that is not true. The early bird does get the worm. I do fully agree with that saying in some respects, but it is not a true fact. Birds will be feeding it all kinds of time during the day and night, not necessarily early morning. So anyway, now that we've looked at these birds, I'm gonna keep going on and head up to the dam. Woodland kingfisher somewhere around here, which I want to show. It has eluded us. With this waterhole that I'm going to now, there has been a single hippo present. Seems like I do have some bad signal, so I do apologise. I'll send you across to Sydney while I move spots.
So what motivated me to come to the Chitwa this afternoon is that when I got to the area of Chitakat line, there's tracks of Hosanna coming towards Chitwa. And it was confirmed by one of the vehicles that Hosanna crossed over to the Chitwa area somewhere last night, and it was spotted here. I'm not too sure if it's this morning or last night, following Tandy. Tandy, who was following Kalamba. Kalamba got to the Chitwa first yesterday. So it means all three of them, they are somewhere around here, or they are maybe now gone back to Juma, but they were in this area between yesterday and this morning. So maybe we might be lucky with any of the three. So you can hear the woodland kingfishers. They are giving us a warm welcome. You can hear them making noise here in this area. So here where I am is nice and open, and trekking is lovely. I'm trying to check by all means to see if we can pick up any of the tracks. But I know the cat leopard which is occurring here often is the Kuchava. MGN, if you look at the strength of the dung beetles and the strength of the ants, there's a big difference. Ants can take something which is between 20 to 50 times bigger than their body weight. A dung beetle can take something which is over 1,141 times bigger than the body weight. So you can see that the dung beetle is the one who can push quite a lot of multiplications compared to the body weight. So an ant is got a very strong muzzle than a lot of insects. But when it comes to the size they can push, it's much lower than the size which can be pushed by the dung beetles. So in other words, the dung beetle is the strongest insect, while at the same time is the strongest animal to push something like over 1,000 bigger than all these other animals. So in this case, we don't have to check the elephant pushing the tree. We have to check how many times can the elephant push its own body weight. So now let's go back to the Masai Mara, where David is having the lions in the rain.
Well, I might have spoken, too soon. I was talking about the rains. I was showing you the storm and how the clouds were building. But it has started to spit here, so I thought I'll bring the flaps down, not take any chances. And currently you can hear the thunderstorms just hitting, and you can see the background there. It's just a bit of a wall of rain, quite a distance from where we are, but we're getting a little bit of some drops here. And what we do, we never wait until the rain gets so close to us, because we've got very expensive equipment in the car and they're all electronic, so we never want to take any chances. So as early as we can, we'll bring the flaps down and we leave a small window, and that's what Archie is working on, which is pretty good, because that's the window I'm talking about. Yes, so if it gets much bigger than that, we'll also bring that one down. And the only thing is, you're going to see my face and my little shuttered windscreen here is because of the kind of roads we have. They keep bouncing up and down, and most important, we have very special windscreens or windshields that they never break completely, just shatter, and we keep using them comfortably. Now we're going to go back to our lions and see how they're feeling or how they're behaving against the rain. The only one thing they have done, they woke up from that flat position they were lying on, and now they're on their feet, but still you can tell the snooze still is very big in them, and definitely they're not very comfortable with the amount of wind. That wind makes them feel not very good, so they want to dig themselves on the ground there, get some warmth. Look at those very beautiful golden eyes. Beautiful men. I was saying between the two, they both got very good looking men, but this one to me is a true, I would say a true male lion. They're all true lions, but this one to me is more appealing. If I'm given a choice of which one, I would vote for this one. Look at the ears and see how torn they are. Just stretch them a little bit there. Maybe picking the thunderstorms. Remember, our drive is always very interactive. Should you have any questions or comments, please send them through #SafariLive on Twitter. We love hearing your views. We love hearing what you'd want to see or what you'd want to know. Now look at this one here, and the mane is a little bit different. Not as dark. I would say it's a little bit blondie. And for those of you who have never joined us before, these males form a coalition of 3, and they are always seen around hanging with some girls or predator lions that we call the Olololo. Much shorter mane, not as dark. See all the marks on the eyes. This shows, I would guess, a few fights here and there, and those could be some claw marks or some teeth mark. When lions go for each other, somehow they always tend to aim the eyes, because they know once you're blind or once you get blinded, you have a better chance. And I agree with all of you. They're wonderful, they're gorgeous, very good looking. MK, you say it's a redhead, and I agree with you. We might maybe change his name and call him Redhead, because that's really red, it's really blondie, comparing to the other one, which is not redhead but a blackhead. Yeah, MK, I love that name, and we can call him Redhead. And definitely they're not very comfortable with the rain. In general, cats do not love rain, and more so the males. You can see the amount of fur they got on their mane. It ends up holding, or they tend to soak a lot of water, which is not exactly what they'd be wanting. But that notwithstanding, sleep is very big in lions, and especially the males like these ones. And you can see he's still struggling to keep his eyes open, and slowly the head falling down, bringing it up, because he surely wants to have a nap. But the thunderstorms, as I said, and the wind, you can see the amount of wind now blowing is picking up pace, which is not definitely to their liking. You'll be surprised, as much as it's spitting now, if the rain will get even heavier, these lions will not go anywhere. They will stay here, get trained on. When the rains will stop, stand up, shake their bodies, and try to reduce or get rid of as much of water they'll have on their bodies, and their life will be just back to normal. About 1 kilometer from here, there is one female of the Olololo pride, and they are definitely in touch, forming this one huge group of the Olololos. So we call the other one Redhead, as MK said. Maybe we can call this one for today the Blackhead. Look at the beauty there of the Mara. Excellent. Keep enjoying your nap. And every time I hear Sydney going to Chitwa, I could imagine there'll be a lot of animals to see in the water.
So you can see that I have got the hippopotamus. Every time we see a lot of hippopotamus like this, it's a sign that I am by the Chitwa Dam. So the Chitwa Dam so far is the only dam I have seen in the area having the crocodiles as well, staying together with these hippopotamus. Oh, you can see there is a crocodile lying down there. Oh, two of them, they're all close to each other. Look at that. You can see the one on the left. That one on the left, when looking at the head, is too small. Might be the male. Normally, the male crocodiles, they've got short head. And the females, they've got very long head. So crocodiles do visit each other from long distances. Especially during the breeding season, you will see they can walk here up to 16 kilometers and more looking for a partner. So I can hear the hippopotamus. So the hippopotamus, they are enjoying themselves. You can hear them making that lot of noise. So they're very much loud, and we can hear them properly because the wind is on our favor. The wind is just blowing all the sound towards our direction. So this is the area where I'm hoping to find any of the cats. Giraffe girl, I didn't copy your question very well. The hippopotamus are territorial, and because of that, some of the males here, they get kicked out from their families when they are challenging the territorial males. So that's why you can see there is a group of hippopotamus staying together, much more on the right, and we've got this group here we were seeing just now. So this is telling you that here amongst these hippopotamus there is different schools. Not all the females here are belonging to just one male. You can see there we have got some other males who are cornering some of the females in the area. So you can see that there's quite a lot of small ones there by this corner. But there's a very big hippo here who gives a very loud and thick call. So none of them is outside at the moment, so it means the sun maybe is too strong for them. They're just trying now to cool down the body temperatures. So this animal, when it's MK, the hippopotamus spend much time in the water, and that is during the day. Remember, the very same hippopotamus, when the sun goes down, he's going out, which means he is going to be out from when the sun is going down until the sun rises in the morning. So they do spend much time outside at night, and during the day they spend much time in water, just going in water and coming out, just coming and going from the water holes and lie down by the banks. So these animals, when they are in the water, you cannot see how big is the body size, but it's quite a very big animal, which can weigh up to 1,600 to 1,700 kilograms, and that's quite a lot. So I'm just going to carry on and see. I just want to check around the chitwa here to see if we cannot find any of those cats. Maybe they are somewhere here. So now let's cross over to Pat and hear what he's having.
Well, still racing around, seeing if I can find some elephants or any other big creature or anything interesting. But we've just stopped and found a big herd of impala here down at a watering hole. We are going to various water sources at the moment, trying to find animals drinking. We've come across a big herd of grazing impala, and there's also a few wildebeest mixed in there as well. It's quite a nice setting actually, with the almost setting sun spraying light just over this open little area here. Pumi, yes, there is so many lambs at the moment. A lot and a lot. They've just come out of their breeding season, and so we've got a lot of cute little lammies all over the place. It seems like the herds have almost doubled or tripled in some cases in size. Especially towards the evening, they come together in huge aggregations, and oh, isn't this beautiful sight? Something's obviously spooked someone, one of them. And we've got a big stampede almost. How good is that? Well, perhaps they're not wildebeest amongst that herd. No, it looks like they're... It's a bit hard to see from back here, but it looks like they might be kudu or Inyala maybe. Yeah, Inyala. Inyala, so it's... Sorry. That is Inyala mixed in there. Stevie, it is a stunning sighting, isn't it? It's actually sometimes better to get a further away shot or further away sighting. It is nice to be up close and personal with the animals, but when they're in such a big group like this, sometimes the only way you can really appreciate it is to take a few steps back, or in this case reverse a few hundred meters back. Well, I'm going to continue on to this other water hole, and if I can't find anything there, I think I'm going to have to give the hyena den a little bit of a check. We have found they've moved dens again in the last, I'm not sure, week or so. So hopefully they are out to play this afternoon. Paula, what is my favourite antelope at the moment? Well, recently I've really come to appreciate the impala. I mean, it's by far the most common the most common antelope that we get here. But there's just something about them, those big black eyes, and I think the fact that they're so adaptable in South Africa and in all of Africa. They're actually the only antelope, or the only mammal in South Africa to have actually expanded its range over the last decade or so, or even the last 20 years, I think. It's really quite adaptable, and that is because it can switch. It's got a really dynamic diet, so it can switch between browsing and grazing, and it can really utilize a wide variety of sources. Sorry, just coming through a bit of a bumpy patch. And yeah, they're just so beautiful and majestic. You know you're always going to see one. So yeah, my answer is the impala. And I also really like the band Tame Impala, so I don't know whether that biases my decision at all. There is actually more impala in there's more impala than any other herbivore combined in the Kruger National Park. So that is just a testament to how well adapted they are. Another fact feeding into that is that they haven't actually changed in an evolutionary sense for 6.5 million years. So that is a long time, considering animals such as the hartebeest and the wildebeest have speciated 18 times in that time period. So it really goes to show just how good they are. And speaking of, well, we'll stay here and enjoy these impala in the sun. But it sounds like David is getting the opposite of sun up in the Mara. Let's go and check in what he's up to.
Wow, I'm enjoying the rain. I wish I was seeing the impalas without the rains. Now, in Kenya or in East Africa, we normally have one good season of what I would call summer, because in East Africa we don't have summer or winter or autumn or spring. It's just a very 12 months or so of warmth the whole year, which is broken by 2 seasons of rain. What you call the long rains, which always come March, April, May and June, July, and the short rains that come around October, November, and sometimes around this time for Christmas they stop. But what we've found out the last 5 years, the weather has been quite erratic, and I would say the whole of East Africa, long rains have come as short rains, or long rains have come much longer. Short rains, which are not meant to be as heavy as they are, they've been coming very heavy. I was outside trying to put down the flaps and I got a bit of drops in my nose and my throat. But we are hoping, the rains will stop. Anyhow, what I'm saying, this rain, not sure you can see anything through my windshield here, but it's just dark. So thank you very much, I'm saying sorry, and it's how it is, and it's, we play by the ear. It's Mother Nature. The plus side of this is the grass or the vegetation will be very lush, very green, and all the herbivores will have which translates to the cats and more so the light. I'm sure they're enjoying the rain. They can't see them now, but I think they're a couple of meters from where I am. Well, we just continue waiting for this train.
So now I am trying to leave the Chitwa area just to cover the western side of Chitwa, going towards Juma, and check the border, because these leopards were seen entering this portion. So that is where I'm hoping to find some tracks, and maybe they went all the way up towards the Twins Dam, because this block is not far away from the Twins Dams. So maybe they're going to go and have some water by the Twins Dam. Here I can't find their tracks at all. So I'm very happy with the weather, because it's cooling down at the moment, and when it's cooling down like this is when they might start moving. Let's hope they don't have a kill somewhere in the thick bushes there. Saturday a cat is needed. Maybe I'm going to be lucky around this area. I've checked everywhere, much more towards the northern side. So now I want to try this part. So Tandy was following Kalamba there, and the only tracks I can see here now, it is the hyena tracks. There is some hyena tracks here going towards that side, showing that they are coming from the Chitwa. It's difficult for the camera operator to see the tracks, but the tracks are going in here. Those kind of animals, the tracks for the much important because they always follow these leopards. I don't want to stay us. Portion where I am hoping these leopards are going to come out from the Chitwa area. But still no tracks at the moment. I haven't picked up any alarm call as well. It has been very quiet. Call 6. The hyenas from the tracks is very much difficult to tell at the moment. But yes, some of the animals from the tracks we can see because they are tracks which has got some cracks. And not all these animals got the same kind of cracks. That makes it more easier in order to distinguish between these animals. But so far it's very much difficult to tell if it was Koki or any other hyena. Maybe they are going to come out the tracks much more towards the Twins Dam. I'm not far away from the Twins Dam. We are just going to get there now. So now let's apologies for that. Quickly go to pets.
Well, still on my way to the hyena den. I'm not far off at all though. I am very much anticipating it. I've missed my little hyenas. It's been quite some time. I did see him on foot briefly the other morning whilst I was on walk with Steve, but it was only a brief sighting and I didn't get to see my little plonk. It's growing up to be a big boy. It's funny to see already that he's showing signs of dominance over the subordinate pretties cubs, even though they are older and bigger. Still good. Kathy, are there any bear species in South Africa? No, not that I am aware of. No. I actually would love to see bears though. Bears are one of the few animals left in the world that I have not yet seen in real life. So that would be very nice to see. Well, it depends whether you count a koala as a bear. But no, that's just in the name. It is a bit of a debate. I'll leave that one to everyone else to figure out. I'm glad everyone's as excited as I am to see Plonk. I really hope that they are out and playing this afternoon. I've had a lot of trouble finding the animals lately, so that always makes the sightings even more exciting when we do actually see them. Very special indeed. Yes, Plonk is a star. I definitely agree with that one. Just hearing some alarm shouting coming from one side out there, but doesn't seem to be anything serious. Almost at the den, almost there. As I said, they have changed sites, which is something that is typical of hyenas. They're not always going to stay in the one den. Mary, you read my mind. You knew what I was going to talk about. So your question was, why do they move dens? And well, that's to keep away from predators. So they don't want the predators knowing where they are. It's better to hedge their bets and have a few dens rather than stay in the one spot and be a sitting duck. I'm sure it also gets quite uncomfortable in there after a while. It would get very smelly. Not that that really bothers a hyena. They are very resistant to disease. They have strong stomach acids, so they can eat just about anything. They don't often get sick. You won't very often see a hyena in bad condition, unless of course it's been injured. So just going into the off-road area. Not far from the den at all right now. Well, I am getting there. Let's quiz everybody. Let's test your hyena knowledge. So, what is it? What structure does a female have, a female hyena, that makes them unique amongst other females of other species? What structure or organ does a... There we go, they're here! Woohoo! Alright, let me just get in a good position. So I can see one right now. I'm not sure whether it's Corky or Pretty. Woohoo! It looks like we might have Corky and Plonk here. Oh, and we've got both of them out. So we've got on our right here, on our right we have what looks to be Pretty and her two cubs. Yes, I can see two little sets of ears there down near the belly. So that tells us that that's Pretty and her two cubs. And then right in front of us we have Corky and little Plonk, the star of the show. Here we go, just in front of us there. So Megsy, do we have any answers? Does anyone know the answer to my question? Alright, still waiting. Use that hashtag SafariLive or the YouTube chat stream if you do want to answer that question or communicate with us in any other way. This show is only as good as you guys make it. Paula and Beck, you are correct. It is the pseudopenis. One of the most fascinating yet very odd adaptations of the hyena is the female pseudopenis. As well as a high level of a testosterone-like hormone, they will also produce. Makes them even more male-like, and that's also why the females are dominant over the males. Kathy. So the cubs won't be too far off travelling around with the adults. They'll be starting to stop their weaning at about 6 months, which is what they are approaching now. And then at about a year or so, they will start accompanying the adults. They won't start hunting for themselves for quite a bit after that though. But for now, they're still obviously very content with suckling and staying protected in the den. They are very curious at the moment though. They quite often will come up and sniff around the car, see what we're up to, which is also a behaviour that we see they lose once they get older. So they are curious when they're younger. Obviously they're very intelligent animals, so they do gather a lot of information at a young age. But then once they get older, they just realise that we're nothing to worry about. They don't really need to waste any energy checking us out. They know we're just here to observe. And so they might stick their head up and look at you. And that is about as far as things will go. What we don't want though is the adults feeling comfortable leaving the cubs around out of the den while we're there. That's where the line starts to be drawn, because then they will start to feel like they can leave them unguarded, which is not what we want. Not what we want at all. Rosalind, what age will the cubs start to learn to hunt? So around 1 to 2 years old, somewhere in between there, probably more towards the 2 year, they will start learning to hunt. And they will do that usually within a pack as well. Hyenas do hunt by themselves, especially if they want the meat to themselves, but they're more efficient and smarter when they're hunting in a pack. And if it's a female, especially one of Corky's cubs, it will probably stay around and rule if it's a female. But if it's a male, and especially if it's not a high-ranking female's cub, then it will probably leave the clan shortly after it learns to hunt. Sort of around 3 years old, it'll leave the clan in search of a new one, where they might get the chance to mate there because they're not being pushed around by everyone on top of them. Well, this is very peaceful. We'll leave them to rest and leave the cubs to suckle away. Let's cross back over to Sydney to round out the show.
I am right now in the middle of the Ejuma Game Reserve, trying to reallocate these cats. We have seen one of them yesterday, Hosanna, and Talamba as well as Tandi are in the very same area between here and somewhere around Chitwa. So I tried my luck by the Chitwa, and now I'm trying my luck by the Ejuma Game Reserve. No tracks are coming out from Chitwa, and I can't even see the tracks going into the Chitwa, but sightings has been spotted there in Chitwa. Yeah, let's hope to see. Especially Talamba is the one I am missing a lot. So now let's quickly go over to Patrick. So there is quite a lot of challenges here, networks coming and going. A lot of trees are growing back the leaves and it's just green, and the bush is just getting densely populated at the moment. So it's something which is going to happen quite a lot. I'm just trying to listen. Maybe I might pick up some date, some update before we finish. So you can see that the clouds are building again. So we might get some rain maybe tonight or tomorrow. We are hoping for more rains. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. It has been an ornament having you on A Game Drive this afternoon. Let's meet again tomorrow morning.